The West is not doing enough to stop the war in Bosnia. And the events of this last week has shown how inept the UN forces are. I would like to know why you think that Muslim countries have not spoken out more and don't seem to be helping the Bosnian Muslims.
I think the simple answer to this question is very tragic, but unfortunately, that is the only answer I can offer. The Muslim countries are not spokesmen of Islam. They are spokesmen of those powers which control them, which rule them. And many countries have practically become spokesmen of America, for instance. There are some others who would be spokesmen of France or Britain or Europe in general. But largely, I think it is America which is dictating terms to the Muslim world. I don't mean they don't feel for Bosnians. Of course they do feel. Whenever we sent messages to certain of the Muslim leaders, and I once launched a campaign that Ahmadis in large numbers from all over the world should continue writing letters to the leadership in Islam, Muslim world, and coaxing them on to do something, just teasing them out of this lethargy. And the responses which we received in some cases were very, very encouraging. It shows that they do feel the misery and they do share this torture of the Bosnian, but no more, just a feeling. Mm-hmm. So it means despite the fact that they don't like what's happening in Bosnia, they are helpless, they're powerless, they're speechless. Because the speech is controlled from somewhere else, Mm-hmm. As I have been saying, the microphones are in Washington, but the loudspeakers are in these countries. That's the unfortunate situation. But I think quietly, diplomatically, all these Muslim countries, I'm quite sure, it's irrelevant whether Ahmadis or not, but I know the world of Islam feels at one, in feeling at least, whenever such tragedies happen. So they all share this with us. Mm-hmm. Only they're not free to act as we are free to act. Mm-hmm. So but privately, they must be speaking of their mind. They must have been expressing their disgruntlement at what's happening during their diplomatic negotiations with the Western countries. So this plus that propaganda campaign which we have launched, and more so the prayers which we are constantly making, and I never miss, and the Jamaat also is being reminded by me to constantly remember in prayer the Bosnian Muslim unfortunate people. The words fail me to describe the state of misery in which they find them. And I think these factors, with the grace of Allah, with the response to our prayers from Allah, are creating some results. Previously, for many years, they continued to threaten the Bosnians only with words. The Serbs only with words. Never anything followed. So it was so tantalizing. So I can't explain how one felt, totally helpless. They went on week after week and month after month, threatening the Serbs. That is the last. No more. We're going to strike. Remember this. This is serious. Resolution after resolution was passed in the United Nations, or statements were issued by Americans and the European leadership. Nothing followed. But for the first time now, things are happening. Though not enough. But for instance, today they have given a challenge. Europeans unitedly have given a challenge to the Serbians to immediately vacate that township which has now been surrounded, and a large number of Muslim populace has been slaughtered there. They have been now given a notice that if by noon today they do not vacate the whole town and go back to their not earlier positions but 2 miles away from the town limits, they would carry out a large, heavy bombardment expedition, or let's say they will be bombarded by air. This time, in a much different sense, in a much bigger sense, because they have planned that all European states would participate in this large-scale bombing, and they have made it clear that it would be search and destroy mission by our aeroplanes, and wherever we find any single Bosnian, Serbian presence or collective Serbian presence, we are going to bombard that. Now, the ultimate goes on: if you do not retreat to 2 miles away from the town limits, then the bombardment which would take place would be in 12-mile zone. It will not be in 2-mile zone. They have accepted, at least in words, like they have been doing it. They say, all right, we are receding, or we are retreating. But you know, in the past what happened? They always, amassed more forces, if not here, in some other place, and drew the attention of the world to another place of atrocities. And in the meantime, when this ultimatum was supposed to have been gone overboard, being too old, they would restart the same atrocities here. That is the unfortunate situation.